Hey, hey, hello everybody. Yes. Ah, a single person left clapping.
The
Hello
sound
everybody,
of one hand
welcome.
clapping, right?
Yeah, well it's two hands actually, but one clap. Two hands make one clap. Is that right? Have I got my mathematics right? Yeah, I think so. But there were lots of them out there to start with.
Right.
Why don't you do it again, folks, just to prove that you're here? Hey, there's lots of hands clapping. Yeah. Okay, okay. Well, welcome everybody to this week's edition of the Metaworld News. I'm Mal Burns. You can find me on Twitter, where they squash my name for, well, obvious reasons really. Twitter.com/MALBURNS. Otherwise, of course, it's Mal and then Burns, if you see what I mean. We also have a Twitter feed for the show, which is a bit more sparsely populated, really just to do with virtual worlds spaces on the web. And that is, of course, twitter.com/metaworldnews. Again, two words squashed into one. So, as I said, Mal Burns. C'est moi, folks. Yeah. And joining me, as always, in the studio is him.
Thank you, him.
Yes, it's James Atloud. Welcome, James.
Thank you, Mel. I'm very happy to be here again, solving technical difficulties and such. I was not able to find an animated shirt today, and so
No.
I did find a shirt from a new vendor, a new store, and so
Uh,
I'll put that link up on screen. Kenny
the right hand
Chidori,
side, the right hand side kind of matches your cap.
kind of, yeah,
And
indeed.
the whole thing reminds me of chess too. I've always liked chessboard symbolism,
Right,
whether it's the
right.
board or whether it's the board or the figures.
Yep.
Um, I
So
remember spending ages in the bookshop once trying to find a book like The Art of Chess
hmm
in, art featuring the chessboard, and I was
Yeah.
never able to find one.
hmm
I've seen various paintings that would fit in a book like that, but
Yeah.
not a book. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yes, so we're having the right. So if you are watching Kenny Chidori's store,
Yeah.
okay, I
Yeah.
can see that on my monitor. So no need for me to spell that one out for you at least. Okay, that is absolutely great. So as well as showing off shirts here in Samsar. James is also responsible for twiddling knobs behind the scenes, which allows me to share my desktop view with you while I'm reading the news, and James can switch between that and my avatar and well anything else he wants to. Really, usually just those two, make life easy.
Do what I can. Right.
And yes, indeed, indeed. Um, so I hope I haven't forgotten anything. We can more or less get on with the news itself. I haven't got any picture shows this week. It's just I could only find one picture, and it really isn't worth it. It's advertising something that's still 3 months away anyway. So what the hell? Um, I'm starting actually with three links that actually are not on my Twitter feed. They are on my Mastodon feed. You know, if the tooting thing instead of the tweeting thing,
Hmm.
um, which is I think it's at symbol metaworld and then it's at mastodon.social. I haven't got that handy though because they're already loaded. So I'll just mention these three first. They're places you already know. And yeah, let's switch to my desktop. Get going. Um, this is All Night. They have a lot of All Nights in various places. And I think it was last week they had one in Florence. This one is not actually clear where it is. They've just called it All Night. And it says it's virtual XR collaboration right for your workplace. And they gab on about it for about 25 minutes. Most notable here, of course, is a very familiar face. You see,
No.
It's Charlie Fink. Let's see if I can do something about the volume.
are looking up, so we are feeling actually optimistic today. Today we are tackling one of the hottest topics in XR. As you all know, interest in remote team collaboration has skyrocketed over the past year, but people are still confused about it. What is it? How do you use it?
Right. As I say, it's 25 minutes, so I'm really just giving you a little preview here. As you can see, Charlie Fink has gone for the old PowerPoint approach. Is that the word? But no, don't we see a bit of him in a world? Not sure which world that is he's in there.
A Expo Center, a Serengeti, an ancient Greek. Reminds me of Engage. Do a short presentation.
I think it's Vibella,
Okay.
which is used for a lot of education and stuff. Very simple program, but ooh, somebody else has got a Mac. Right. Okay. I will pause it there. It's well, it's perfectly listenable to if you're loading it directly for yourself. Um, it's um, it's filed under Or's main site. All the Or nights and things and the conferences are on this site. So it's just Or AWE space dash space augmented space world space expo, and subscribing to them really gives you everything they're involved with at any old time, really. Um, it's yeah, I can see a few of them listed at the side here for me as well. Um, yeah, Charlie Fisk seems to think, I should say, it's Robert Fisk, isn't it? And Charlie Fink. Oh, get confused now. Right, Charlie Fink, as well as writing for Forbes and having his weekly XR Wheat Peak, which we will be getting to near the end, because it was yesterday. He's also been on a couple of other YouTube casts recently too. It seems it's almost like he's got one a day in a different place for different people. So he's popping up all over the place. Although if you ever want to get in hold of him, it's near impossible to get hold of. You have to go through this system of booking him for this, or even booking him to talk to him and well, anyway, that is beside the point. So, over at YouTube, you want or Augmented World Expo is the account you want there. And this was on the 12th of March, which is about 3 days ago as we're talking. I think I forgot to mention that we are currently on the 14th of March. I think it's on screen somewhere anyway. But basically, we are covering the headlines for the week ending today, the 14th of March, with one exception, which we'll be coming to shortly. Right, moving on to the next bit, so to speak, and YouTube.com again. And this time, so I have to skip the ads every time I load these pages. Pain.
Between 2010.
Right. This is a post from Wired magazine, or rather Wired UK here. Wired, all caps, space UK, caps again. And last year they asked CEOs about augmented reality. It was on their radar. Now they're actually seeking it out. And that's a quote from Peggy Thompson, who's CEO of Magic Leap. And this is the conversation they had with her. It's 18 minutes long, so it's not particularly long. I'll just give you a hint of what's there. I'm not going to play it, obviously.
2014, AR company Magic Leap building a competitor to Google Glass and Oculus Rift that would supposedly blend computer graphics with the real world. Managed to raise more than $540 million from the likes of Google, Qualcomm, Andreessen Horowitz, and others while still operating in stealth mode. To date, Magic Leap has raised a total of $3.6 billion. But it's not all been plain sailing. Sales of its Magic Leap 1 headset were not stellar. Reviews were mixed. In April, Magic Leap cut 1,000 jobs and said it was moving away from consumer plans and pivoting towards business. 1 month later, Roni Abovitz announced he was stepping down as CEO. The ship needed steadying. This, after all, is a market thought to be worth between $100 and $200 billion over the next 5 years. Enter then in July Peggy Johnson, the former Microsoft and Qualcomm executive, as Magic Leap's new CEO. In this fireside with Peggy, we'll discuss the emerging AR space and explore the direction in which the tech and Magic Leap is headed. Peggy, It's wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much indeed. Let me start straight away by just asking you outright, what attracted you to the Magic Leap?
Yeah, great question, and thanks for having me. It's really great to be here with you today, Darby. You know, I had always been passionate about the augmented reality space going back. I mean, I'm 35 years in the tech industry. Going back to my Qualcomm days, we had a product called Euphoria. Obviously, Microsoft had HoloLens. And I had been tracking the progress of Magic Leap for several years. And I just think it's amazing technology, and it truly is the next generation of computing. So just
Well, I think she's explained it all there, sort of got ahead on us. So, yes, she probably looks like she'll make a good CEO, but as I say, they've been public for a while now, and it's hard to know where they. I think they will become a player myself, but whether they become a major player and quick enough is another matter entirely. So moving on to the final YouTube or independent YouTube, so to speak, and this is one we give you every week, really. Um, it's the Monday edition
Hmm.
of Upload VR. Or, well, it's actually called the VR Download. This is number 55, and the site you'll find it at is Upload VR. Um, Obviously, their YouTube account, Upload VR, all one word, but the VR and the U are in capitals.
So we're going to get into all the latest hardware news and general developments.
This Monday edition is where they, well, I'm not going to summarize it or anything, but Mondays at 1 p.m. Pacific is when they film this live, and it's the best one because it is devoted to hardware and various stuff. Hardware news and industry trends is the way they describe it here. They also do another one on Thursdays at roughly the same time, but that is very much more geared to well, games, but also what you might call VR experiences. So I mean, it's not totally not of interest, if you see what I mean, because sometimes they look at VR experiences which aren't games. I mean, arguably any virtual world that isn't a game is a VR experience, isn't it? If it's VR, of course. So the later in the week show is okay too, but this is the one we look out for and grab every week,
Yeah,
as
last
it
week's
were.
show was interesting. They kind of did a rundown of their top selections for the year. So that was it was I thought it was interesting.
Mm. This one seems to talk about Zuckerberg going.
Yeah, and
face,
HTC.
face,
HTC's big because there was a lot of rumors
yeah.
about what HTC was doing this week.
Yes, yeah, it was a sort of question mark thing of HTC cheating
Yep.
something. What is it?
What
Yeah,
is it?
and
Truly.
yeah. And the thing that worried me more about the God Emperor Zuckerberg is not face tracking that he may be eyeing, but his facial recognition thing. The idea that his headset, apparently you'll walk down the street in this headset, and it will not only recognize all your friends, it recognizes everybody else, and you can click and find out who they are. The end of privacy, etc., etc. But I have to say, I did post a link on Facebook this morning, which came from Wired UK yet again. But I haven't seen it anywhere else. But I mean, it's certainly not fake news. About the secret machinations of the UK government currently using legislation that has passed a year or more ago. But um, the end of the acceleration of surveillance, the end of privacy, and apparently, just well, they're trialing something here now using two ISPs. But I mean, if those two, for example, were British Telecom and Virgin, that doesn't that actually probably accounts for 90% of the population. And they always do stuff with BT. Um, but it's going way over beyond the having to keep users' links and their browsing history for 2 years or whatever it is. Um, in theory, they're bringing a system in that will allow them to monitor every single household connected to the internet, where they go, what they do, where they've been, etc., etc. And That's a bit worrying. That is a bit worrying. I've always viewed these things like, how do you find a needle in a haystack? You know, and you look at the web is very definitely a big haystack. There's a lot of needles in it, but there again, it's down to algorithms, search engines. I mean, when you think about it, what do you need to find a needle in the haystack? All you need is a magnet. Pull it out. So if you can build the equivalent of a magnet to pull out everything you want from the web, still need to sort it, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's a bit worrying. Anyway, yeah, that's a diversion. So that's all I have on the direct YouTube links. There are some coming up included in posts, but we'll get to that as we go. And I'm now going to move on to the stuff you'll find at twitter.com/malburns. There's quite a lot there, far more than I actually cover here, but that's where you can find the links, and those links do actually go easily to the actual pages rather than the websites I read out here. Case in point, for example, this the first one, as every week in fact, is the Ghost Howls. We even got a noise for him. Cheeky, aren't we? Right.
Always.
This is Scar. Yeah, Skullghost.com. SKARREDGHOST.com. And this is his week peak, and it comes out every Monday. It includes the mesh launch from Microsoft we covered last week, the rumors from HTC, Pico teasing new hardware, and more, more, more. Um, this is an excellent site to go to on Monday if you want to round up at the previous week's news, especially if you haven't yet got round to watching our show here. I would suggest we should have priority, but if all you want to do is read instead of listen and watch, then as good a place as any to go here is scarghost.com. So Monday every week, the latest post will always be the XR Week Peak, looking back on the week that went before. Um, I think this is the main page you'll get at skullghost.com anyway. But obviously he does things like reviews too, and all we can tell when I'm reading it out to you is the site it's on rather than, the long complicated links. So do use Twitter if you have any problem finding the actual pages that are linked to here. He wishes Happy Women's Day to all the women in XR, of course, which it was on Monday. It continued to be on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, in a manner of speaking. It became Women's Week, really, but there you go. Um, Happy 8th of March, wherever you are. Um, right. And then news of the week, looking at Mesh from Microsoft again. We did that pretty thoroughly last week. HTC teasing the launch of new hardware. James obviously mentioned that just now. That it was early in the week when the teasing was going on.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's well, it seems to be the new headset they're talking about. Pico Neo 3 is coming, the Chinese VR thingy. And oh yeah, I know I covered this last week. Google finally stopped selling the cardboard viewers. These this is actually Google Cardboard, but the version made of cardboard. There are still Google Cardboards around, but they're made of plastic. But either way, Google are not selling that technology, if you can call it anyway. They've abandoned cardboard platforms. They've abandoned its successor, Daydream. So there really isn't any future in the cardboard devices. But it may not. It may not hurt to have one around. An emergency when you might find something on the web that only works with cardboard. I don't know. But as always, my warning there with cardboard, especially the actual cardboard as opposed to plastic, is be very careful. You don't want to catch fire, and they do tend to overheat your phone because of the way you slot your phone into them. So there you go. So final nail in the coffin, etc., etc. More news from the Quest 2, which is the other possible thing. And let's see. Talk about the App Lab, which is experimental lab. Oh, Rec Room. Yeah, we got. I think I posted other ones on this anyway. Plan to give quite a lot of money to content creators to fill up their platform with. Bank of America using VR training. and so on and so forth. As you can see, I'll be scrolling down forever. But always a plug to go there because it is a great way to start the week, especially if you just want something to read, so to speak. So, Skullghostcom, SKARREDGHOST.com. And moving on, we are moving on, in fact, to Voices of VR, another regular site for us. Um, these are audio podcasts from Kent By. And there've been quite a lot this week. Some weeks there's barely one. Other weeks there's quite a lot. I think well, I say quite a lot. I think it's three from what I can see here. 892 was looking at Sundance and Persuasion Machines, which is an architectural storytelling against surveillance capitalism. Yes, quite a bit of a handful there. It sounds rather good, actually. I'm never quite sure whether art and architecture and stuff, when it tries to tackle issues, real world issues like this, how effective it is. I mean, obviously, you can, if you're a real cult art follower, for political art and things, you probably get messages from the art, but I don't know to what extent it really hits the mainstream. But anyway, Sundance is a big festival, so uh, he's looking at documentaries that have been at Sundance actually over the past 3 years. Obviously, this year's Sundance was entirely virtual anyway, for obvious reasons. The previous 2 years were real life events, but nevertheless featured um, um, VR, AR material as well as basic films, I suppose. um, so, yeah, he posts links to some of the archives from this year, of course, and well, quite a lot here. Obviously, there's a lot more academic references, things like that. This article is quite a long article, but bear in mind that the article itself is simply a support article to go with the actual podcast that you're meant to listen to. um, it's there somewhere. If you go to the web page, the button is pretty obvious. Right, so that was 892. Now, also, Voices Viola, 9. Oh, this is 982, and that was 892. There's something funny. There's something. I think he got his numbering mixed up this week. I noticed this earlier in the
Synchronicity,
week.
right?
Yes, February 20th. So this is barely a week away. I think is that Friday or hang on, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, this is next Saturday. The Poly Awards, WebXR Awards. From our point of view, this will collide with the Virtual Worlds in Education conference, which is held in Second Life, which has its own award on
Oh yeah,
Saturday
yeah,
called the
yeah.
Thinker Award. And I, in fact, earlier on the day, will be interviewing the 2006 winner of that. Um, Spiff Whitfield, his avatar name is. Well, you'll find out in due course. Okay, so the Web Exile Awards will be February 20th. Founded by Ben Irwin in collaboration with Sophia Moshasher and Julie Smithson. And they wanted to feature a lot of the work that's been happening on the immersive web in the year 2020, which of course was last year, but in fact it was still the year of the virus. So a lot of it was clearly on the web. And let's see, I think they're planning to stream this via Mozilla Hub, Space VR, Engage, and Tivoli. So you've got quite a range of stuff there. Mozilla Hubs is obviously on the web. Engage, Space VR, and Tivoli are separate apps you have to download. Although I think our friends at Tivoli actually, I think they may have a web version available too. So whether they advertise it for this, I don't know. Anyway, a bit of a roundup there, and yeah, showing his own tweets to go with it. And I'm just jumping down my list because the other one for Voices of VR seems to be a bit further down my list here. 896. That sounds more like a separate one, doesn't it? I think we're in the 90s, so where the 980 came from, I don't know. Anyway, Sundance again, all kinds of limbos, a musical performance for 20 people. wearing Quest headsets. So I don't think it's suitable for scaling, but you can at least get 20 people into the all kinds of limbo simultaneously. It has the ability to show volumetric captured virtuality within the Quest. Uh, Star narrates an experience of being a mixed race woman in the UK here. Takes a tour through musical genres of reggae, grime, classical, and calypso as the theatrical staging is shifted through different worlds. And it seems to have been done with cooperation with the National Theatre's digital development. And the National Theatre themselves has started an entire publishing arm, hoping to publish projects like all kinds of Limno audio wise, so you can hear it on Spotify. Anyway, this interview, of course, is at Voices of VR, which I think you can get on Spotify if you ask for it, but it's on quite a lot of platforms anyway. And it's obviously this is support material to go with the podcast, so there's various videos here. I'm not going to play them; they're largely theatrical videos. Obviously, this wasn't performed it included performances on real stages, but obviously they weren't real stages with an audience. It was just where bits of the things were filmed at the National Theatre. In fact, green screens, etc. Right. I've got to go up the page again now, haven't I? Dear. Right. If James has one handy, we could use an engine for this one. No ghosts here, I have Vroom dot buzz, yes, VRROOM dot BUZZ or double Z if you're in America and want it done your way. Right. Research have observed muscle strain in the neck and shoulders caused by prolonged use of VR. Arguably, if you're a VR aficionado or whatever, this is not the sort of place you want to read, but I think it's very important we read it. There's a lot of forget VR. There's a lot of articles these days about risks of the web and stuff like that, and some of them are actually becoming very real. I mean, after all, there's a phrase or a question people sometimes ask, which I'm very keen on, and that is say, if you could go back in time to the year 1900s or so, right, would you allow domestic users to own motor cars? Well, a lot of people would answer that question, which is after all hypothetical and very far removed from real life these days. They would say no, because of the mess. Look at the state of pollution, the planet, and everything else. So, with hindsight, or foresight, as the case may be, you would make it a very different decision. And obviously, we've been stumbling around on the net since the mid 70s. Well, of course, before and after. I mean, probably mainly since the 90s. But the ideology of what it represented was the main driver. But now, with surveillance states coming in and everything else like that, we're beginning to wonder if this wasn't really a good idea because it's been hijacked by the very forces that we hoped it would bypass, sort of thing. Well, yeah. Let me go down the rabbit hole on this one. This is actually back to health. But I mean, I think it is always important to read these things because as time passes by, we know things like this. In a very current sense, we have COVID, and we're now a year into it, and we're only just beginning to understand the effects of what they call long COVID, which doesn't display any initial symptoms that have you running to hospital half the time, but people are suffering from it and possibly don't even realize it. And so, obviously there was nothing good about COVID in the first place, so it's a different thing. But, sometimes we latch onto things that seem all too convenient, and they've got hidden problems. And so this is Oregon State University basically conducting a study exploring muscle movement in VR and how you can get muscle strain or muscle injury. I can easily understand this, be it the headset or the hand controllers and things like that. I mean, a lot of us, I suspect I have it, although I think I fiddle around with my fingers too much to suffer anything. But repetitive strain injury. I mean, my right hand is attached to my mouse, and I've got a right button, a middle button, and a left button, plus a scroll wheel that I can click. And it's second nature to me to use all those fingers and combinations, as well as, of course, move the mouse. Um, I don't know how I would work, even projecting these pages now. Yeah, I'm not using a keyboard at all. Everything is down to my right hand and the mouse. So, if your hand can suffer that way, and people's back can suffer because they don't sit in the right positions on their chairs when they look at a screen for too long. Your eyes can suffer if you don't take a break from the screen, which is very easy not to if you're having fun or rushing to get something done. Um, so yeah, good idea. Always look out for the stuff that advises you about the risk. Um, the researcher Jay Kim points out there are no actual standards or guidelines for virtual and augmented reality interactions. So they're really working. They're working without standards. They may be working on research that will indicate maybe what the standards should be. Um, they tested people with this sort of stuff, how they use their fingers while they're in the headset and everything else like that. So it's not all just about the headset. It's about muscular um, everywhere. Discomfort in the shoulder was persistent after 3 minutes of activity. If you're going through an activity and your shoulder begins to ache, you probably think, "Oh, I don't mind my shoulders aching. It's more fun to carry on with the activity." Probably like somebody in sports, sort of doesn't twist their ankle but sprains it and thinks they'll carry on kicking the ball anyway, because they're dedicated to it or they're having fun with it. But of course, that's not a good idea. It may just make the problem worse. So anyway, not to go into all that, you'll find that at vroom.buzz, VRROOM.BUZZ. Moving on, we have two posts here coming up from the BBC, actually. Um, apparently, I don't see NBC and various. There was this weird thing in the Twitter feeds earlier in the week where a lot of the commentators were saying, "Whoopee, this is great." CNBC or somebody that some other big network has mentioned the word metaverse. It's a thing. It's a thing. Most of it, I think, was triggered. Whether they got the interpretation right is another matter entirely. But most of it, I think, is triggered by articles like this that ended up at the BBC in the UK here, and it's about the Roblox game Public, and how it's started off as a children's game, and it's now become a $30 billion US bet on the metaverse. And they cover it there. This they get away from their confusion by calling it the so-called metaverse, an online world not just for gaming but for work and learning too. And how Roblox actually is sort of trying to move from a children's game to an adult metaverse. The biggest problem is they may be very big. They are actually very big, um, but they're kind of new to the idea of the metaverse and stuff like that. They've got the right idea and what they want to do. The big question is whether Roblox can actually do it. Is it the right platform to try and become an anchor for a lot of other things? And we've discussed this for years. You know, once upon a time, people were in Second Life 15 years ago, and they all thought it was going to be the beginning of this wonderful interconnected world to make the metaverse. But very rapidly it became a walled garden. You can't jump in and you can't jump out except through the official gate. You can't apply for a passport and go in via another platform. The passport is the app. So they trap you in the app. Facebook is not yet a virtual world of it, well, not in that sense or metaverse, but it is so colossal, and they use the same tactic, trap you in their application or in fact their ecosystem. Um, Roblox does not really have an ecosystem. It sort of works closely with Fortnite, I gather, and also Epic Games. But even so, um, maybe if there's enough money and PR flying about, then they could find a way of opening up Roblox and its associates to be able to be a launching point for other worlds, other aspects of a metaverse. But it's like the web was planned from the very beginning, not the abuse of it, but the way it will work. A metaverse, there's no groundwork there for a metaverse because it requires a level of interoperability that just doesn't exist at the moment. There are some signs for connections. There are all, between worlds and places online. There are also connections to be made with authoring software for Mesh, for example. Unity and the Unreal engines are used by builders, creators a lot, and they export in formats, usually different formats for the different platforms concerned. But there is a bit of overlap. You might, for example, be able to sell a product made in Mesh in Unity or something, and you can sell it in Sciencebase. You can also sell it in Sansar or possibly even Second Life because you can import what you made out offline into those different worlds. But you'd be in different shops, you'd be marketing them differently. They will bring in different prices depending on the standards of the platform. Very, very not coordinated. Anyway, the rabbit hole can wait again. It better really. I'm just getting used to speeding up the show a bit, and now look at this. I'm being tempted by all sorts of stuff. Anyway, this is the Roblox being the forerunner of a metaverse, according to the BBC. And also at the BBC, again, I'm jumping down my list here. It's funny how we get multiple ones. Um, this again is bbc.co.uk, bbc.co.uk, I should say. Um, uh, you'd have to go to my Twitter feed to find the exact link, but this is about virtual reality headsets could work, for work, sorry, could snowball. And Wake Up the Money on BBC Live. I think they're a bit late on this one. But it's interesting when somebody like the BBC actually does something like this. I mean, you would expect to see BBC Click, the weekly TV program, cover technological stuff like this. But when you see it as main headlines on Wake Up the Money program, it's not even the technology department of BBC. It's one of the big money departments. Um, Basically, firms are using to help staff based at home and now to work in the office together. They've been looking at alternatives like Zoom. Zoom fatigue is a problem, though, and now they're beginning to investigate headsets, which I think you'd also get headset fatigue if you ask me. But as an option, if you can get people to come to a staff meeting in VR in a headset for 20 minutes in the morning before they start doing their own thing, yeah, that's probably a good way to start the day if you're not allergic to the actual headset. So they're looking at it in that in the context of work in the virtual future and stuff. They also covered a few platforms like Rec Room seems to be getting a lot of mileage recently as a recommended place for work to be happening. Um, and they are actually quite big. So we will see. Red Room don't come across my radar very often, but again, I come from the radar I get is the technology and the social worlds, whatever. I don't get posts from masses of different companies and that give me an indication of which platforms they're choosing to use. I'm only gauging the platforms themselves and which seem to be overall popular. in the general sense, not the specific work sense. Okay, moving on. Using artificial intelligence to generate 3D holograms in real time. Now, I think you can probably take my word that this is a complicated article. It's very much a technological article. I enjoy reading it, but then again, you know, I'd have to be involved in the science of this to really click on it. It's a good enough article. It's the MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, who've written it here. And, they're giving demonstration and, talk about the illusion of 3D and, how that works and how holograms could possibly work and how it could all actually work into real time. They actually use the simple thing of the hologram dove on your credit card. Um, oh, well, actually, I think that's one particular credit card, but a lot of cards, bank cards and stuff like that, have these little holograms on them. So they've been a kind of the holography side of it has been around quite a while, but the holographic thing is a 3D. In the right light, the 3D image comes up and stands up out of the hologram, and you get a tiny bit of movement in terms of being able to move around it from the angle you're viewing it at. Um, but the hologram itself, the contents of the hologram, unlike videos, I mean, don't actually move. It's like the hologram is effectively creating a statue, and with a bit of work, you can move around and see it at different angles. Um, but obviously, if in the future, if hologram technology can be made to work to include movement like video, that will open up a whole new kind of potential. And just imagine there's an array of cameras around me. Nothing on my head necessarily, but just sitting at my desk or something. And then I can enter, maybe not even in 3D, just on a desktop, Sensor here or Second Life. And instead of having an avatar, I would be present in the form of a hologram of myself. There'd be enough sensors to generate a hologram that becomes my avatar. In other words, it'd be like a little disc on the ground with a hologram of me moving, coming out of it. Complicated stuff anyway, but I'll be dead before any of this stuff happens, I think, but it's nice to think about. Anyway, holograms are back in the mid 1900s. That's how old they are, recorded optically. It just requires splitting a laser beam. Half the beam was used to illuminate the subject, and the other half is used as a reference for the positions of the light waves. It generates the unique sense of depth, etc. Resulting image was static, so they couldn't capture motion, and they were hard copy only, making them difficult to reproduce and share. And anyway, it goes on. It looks into all that. It's even got more links at the bottom to find out more about that. So I think anybody involved in the 3D world, the spatial web, as everybody has apparently been told to call it now, um, spatial web would presumably include the metaverse, or would the metaverse include the spatial web? I don't know. Answers on a postcard, please.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, interesting article, and you'll find it at sci.org, phys.org, I suppose, phys.org, as in physics, basically, phys.org. And to the exact page, you'll better get to my Twitter feed, obviously. Okay, so we did BBC, we've done Voices of VR, so I think I can get back on track here to the regular miscellany. Okay, this is TechCrunch.com, familiar site, of course, TechCrunch.com, and Sequoia, I presume that's how you pronounce it, Sequoia Capital put millions of dollars into a platform called Gather, which is a virtual HQ platform. We hear about millions of dollars floating around, and you think, why on earth? That's a good graphic, isn't it? Anyway, Gather. I've actually looked at this. Actually, it helps people gather in virtual spaces for any reason, whether it be for weddings, conventions, or a regular day at work. And it's got investment from the same Silicon Valley firm that has backed both Zoom and Slack. Okay, but if any of you have seen Philip Rosedale's audio version of High Fidelity, or been into Sococo, lots of these, business orientated rooms that have been around for a long while, will probably actually think that Gather, which I'm now scrolling to, looks a bit familiar. I mean, there is not much unique about this. Even High Fidelity did a version of this where they had the avatars in the room walking around with spatial audio, and they ran it in parallel with a Zoom call. So this is kind of giving you the impression of a Zoom call and a virtual room mixed. Presumably, you can only get the audio from one of those sources, otherwise you'll be in a real pickle. Sounds like one of our backstage panics. But
Mm-hmm.
audio from everywhere. But you get the idea. Now, I mean, looking at that, I think that would appeal to many people. Fairly simple, an aerial view of a room. You can go to the conference room or to the com- um, um, the auditorium or private office, whatever. And you can also, via the Zoom Light facility, get the pictures. Um, from what I gather, a lot of the Zoom fatigue has to do with all these multiple faces. And, it's more complex and involving and nerve wracking than a standard video call to just one or two people you know. These big Zoom things. And to me, the idea of that flat thing of high fidelity or gather and stuff we've got here is an alternative to that. It just allows you to feel voices moving around you and sort of position yourself on a little floor plan. And nothing wrong with that, for something that doesn't need to be particularly visual. And it is an alternative to Zoom. So whether something that mixes the two, like this does, is going to be successful, I don't know. I think people are actually going to want one or the other, rather than something as that. That looks simple because it's like little map graphics and floor plan and a Zoom call, but in fact, it's quite complicated. The idea of all those facets working together, where they're very different things. Those avatar markers, the positions of people in the room, is a whole different thing. It's a spatial metaphor, where the Zoom thing is very, clearly, it's like a monologue, or a switchboard, obviously, but there's no spatial audio in a lot of these things. And the other thing to remember too is that a lot of these are promoted to work on um, mobile devices too. And I don't know about Wi-Fi, but audio conversations via Bluetooth environments, for example, is appallingly laggy. You know, it's okay if you're just feeding audio over it, like listening to something in your headphones, but there is a lag there. But as has been pointed out, worse than the lag itself is the fact that everything over Bluetooth goes from stereo to mono. Right, I mean, you obviously somebody's going to say, "Ah, but I've got my stereo headphones and they're Bluetooth." So that's because each headphone is a separate Bluetooth source, if you see what I mean. So the signal is going to two places to create stereo. But the Bluetooth itself is very hard to get apparently, and I'm just told this. Somebody's going to argue with me soon. I've been told that a single Bluetooth signal cannot handle stereo. It has to be a dual signal, in other words, to work that way, and that has actually proved to be problematic in relaying stuff around um, events using Bluetooth. Anyway, somebody can. Anybody like to come on the show and explain all that to me in detail? You are most welcome. Do send it on a postcard, please, to somewhere in the metaverse, Metaworld. Yeah. Oh, give you more. Well, you DM me on Twitter. That's the easiest way. You must know that address by now. Okay, moving on from Gather and Segura Capital. People putting money into all sorts of things now. Okay, another post. This is. Oh God, we're getting to scrolling on down here now. Can something called Dreamium, or rather Dreamium Labs, become master of the metaverse? Yes, another. Forget Roblox. Dreamium wants to become master of the metaverse. Yeah, it's going to be a takeover fight, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right, within the next 5 years, VR applications expected to dramatically accelerate in popularity, blah, 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 spurred on by latest generations of smartphone mobile, equipped with powerful computational camera technology that can capture digitized 3D images with stunning photorealistic visual quality. Let me catch my breath, please. The metaverse concept has emerged. Etc. Credit there to Snow Crash and movies like Tron, The Matrix, Minority Reports, etc. Who are Dreamium Labs? Well, they're in Los Angeles. They're operating in stealth mode. Um, yeah, cue Magic Leap again for 2 years, apparently. Exciting technology platform focused on mainstreaming an AR-based capability in a narrow but potentially high-impact manner. And their CEO, Mike Rubin, believes their labs are building something that will stand out as part of the next big compute era. In many ways, it represents the internet of the future, simulated with decentralized technologies like Web 3.0, virtual worlds, and the internet. The company has developed a technology platform that will leverage the metaverse's potential by quickly creating virtual personas in the form of intelligent, highly realistic avatars. I can't read this. I can read it, but when you're reading something out, it does help to have shorter sentences.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even catch my breath between that lot. Okay, but you can, of course, click on this yourself and read all about it. They're releasing some information here. Um, I have to be a bit suspicious, when I hear the stuff, they've been working in stealth for 2 years, and they're now offering the first 100 people to click the link, which you can forget that. There's a special offer to try it out or something. And a hell of a lot of credits to different, some companies you never heard of, and some companies you very much have heard of in collaboration with. So I'll leave you to just read this. It's at Forbes. It's not Charlie Fink. It's Mark Venner, the author, and I've got it down as just Forbes.com, Forbes.com. But go to my Twitter feed if you actually want to get the direct link, so you don't have to hunt for it when you get to Forbes. Right now, getting ready for SXSW. Um, I know the SW is Southwest. What is this? Special Effects Southwest or
No,
something? I think you told
South
me this.
by, South by
Oh, yeah,
Southwest.
yeah, of course. South by, yeah, X is by, isn't it? Right,
Mm-hmm.
South by Southwest. Okay. Um, Major conference. Oh, conference, really. It's a exhibition more than a conference, I think. Um, been going for many years now, and there's mixtures of politics, music, art, and technology, all sorts of things really mixed up. This year, of course, like anywhere else, and I think last year, it had to go what they call virtual, which basically means online. Rather than necessarily virtual. But this year, they just seem to have taken the virtual to heart. And for example, there is a venue definitely a virtual reality kind of venue for the event. I'm not entirely sure offhand whether that can be viewed on a screen or whether that's some kind of capture from inside a helmet job. I suspect it'd be on screen. Um, it's actually I should have popped in on this. There's just too much else to do. It's been underway since March the 9th to 11th, and the online XR program will run from March 16th, which is, that's Tuesday, isn't it? Tuesday? Well, basically all this coming week. Um, you do need a festival pass actually to get to that. So I think there's a link down here somewhere. You can check out the full program and how to get a festival pass. There you are. And yeah. Um, I'm just going to click on that because I think getting the pass costs you money. Might as well find out how much. Ugh! Okay, one pass that covers the entire event is going to cost you 400 US dollars in March. Well, it'll have to be March. It'd be over. Well, never mind. You can get a student rate, apparently, or group rates. So, um, an event to watch, put it that way. Probably not an event for many to attend. Although, it's hard to know, I mean, there's quite a lot of work goes into online conferences and expos. It's not necessarily as much as in the real world. It tends to be different things that need to be done, and some things that don't need to be done. But I've noticed this year in particular, some of the prices for these events to register to attend have actually really gone up quite a lot. Um, for something that is literally mostly online these days. Anyway, more of that you find at sxsw.com, and that obviously there's links on that site to take you to anything else you need to know about that particular festival. Um, my Voices of VR again. We did that one, didn't we? Okay, fire up the engine because we're back on. Yeah. Shouldn't do
Careful.
that too often.
Um,
Yeah, careful, careful. Yes. I'll be sticking petrol in my throat next. Right, History of Presence, this is called. Vroom.buzz, VRRMM.BUZZ. And this is just one of those nice little interesting things. Obviously, first thing it mentions is something we'd rather not hear about. But I mean, what's happening now with the Zuckerberg investing billions of dollars to fulfill his prophecy. They then move into looking backwards. And I want to look into the past instead of the future, says the writer, to reject the notion that AR and VR technologies moving towards some particular transformative change. So up yours, Zuckerberg. Right. The basic elements of these mediums existed long before computing and do not necessarily improve through technological process. So anyway, yeah, I mean, this is just interesting stuff. Um, a stereographic photographic print from 1889. Um, they've been playing with their plates a bit, haven't they? With the ghost. The haunted lane, that was.
mhm.
Um, Camera obscura, they look at, which is yeah, a method of projection with the cameras, basically, which um, would qualify as virtual in a way. Um, uh, Versatile projection would later form the basis for film projectors. Phantasmagorias became popular in Europe in the 1790s. A skilled magic lantern operator or several projected images around a darkened space. Ingenious use of cranks, sliding plates, and dual lenses produced effects of movement, suggesting floating ghouls and dancing skeletons. Who needs virtual reality? And of course, you've got to remember that all these attractions, I mean, I suppose from early 1900s, were the ghost trains or the mediums and, the, what do we call them, where you got all the people sitting around with their hands on the table. Seance. So much of those it was just entertainment. It used all this kind of technology of the era, to fool people into different things. And they really contrived some interesting things. I've got a whole book here, actually, which comes with a pair of glasses and masses of cards, where I put these glasses on and I put the cards down. And I see pictures of, I think it's the First World War in 3D. I'm not quite sure how they do it. I mean, they basically have two images, a bit like the Google Cardboard early things where you had two images that are slightly offset from each other. When you view them through the right glasses or whatever, they merge together to feel 3D. And yeah, they did this with the static printed like trading card kind of things, except you required two and an offset viewer to get the effect, but they're not new. Then this was interesting. The 1980s stereoscope. That, of course, was reinvented about 10 years ago as a virtual reality viewer. I don't think it really made the transition well. Anyway, they're looking at early cinema and all sorts of stuff. So this is a great, great, great article. And Trans-Siberian Railway Panorama. uh, well, can't tell much from that, but anyway. Um, yeah, lot to read there. Lot to read there. So I thought that was a fun read for a change. Just a couple of paragraphs in, and you're entering a whole new world of history, really. So find that at sorry, oh god, VRROOM dot BUZZ. Dot buzz. Right, back here in the UK, this is another post from the Engine.
Oh, goodness.
I think that might be it, but just stand by in case. Okay, this is our National Health Service Trust. This is in Britain, the UK, obviously, National Health Service. They're using VR to treat phobias. Basically, this has all been done in the east of England using immersive technology to help overcome mental health conditions. And VR has the potential to increase access to treatment for a whole range of conditions. There's no shortage of research, but the practical stuff hasn't been happening very much. But now in Norfolk and Suffolk, which are two counties well, they're both to the east of London, more or less, have become the first NHS trust to integrate virtual reality into its psychological care pathways. And well, you probably need to be in therapy and medical stuff to know half of these terminologies for once. Um, right. Sounds a bit expensive. Mind you, a lot of stuff on the health service is expensive compared with the days when it was formed and stuff was fairly cheap. Um, it costs €1,000 for a license from this company, Sias. And the license can only be used with one patient at a time. The number of patients and times it can be used is unlimited. Oh, I see. Right. Well, it does sound expensive anyway. Look at it. Anyway, they're just looking at the, as I say, VR as treatment for phobias in the NHS, and obviously, like all these, they tend to. They probably do this all over the world, really. But when they do things like this in the UK, as they say, they've got Norfolk and Suffolk, and so they're trialing in these areas. And if they're successful and it's cost effective, they would then roll it out across the whole nation. If it's less than effective or too expensive, it probably gets put on the shelf, so to speak. So good luck to them, basically. Right. Same topic here, more or less, except that this is more focused on American companies, I believe. VR helps transform medical healthcare industry. And, well, I don't know where we call that VR, but it's an illustration. It's cute, especially the patient. Junior doctors, medical students, training can be hit or miss without an actual patient. So they basically examine a dummy whilst his or her colleague pretends imaginary symptoms such as dropping blood pressure, looking confused and sweaty, etc., etc. All done in training hospitals as a rule. Now, this is the UK. It's Oxford Medical Simulations. Okay, a medical simulation company. Using mannequins and actors is a very common way of training people, and it works. We can see that it reduces errors. We can see it improves care, but it's not scalable. It's not a scalable way of delivering that training, and it's very expensive, low throughput, and you need lots of space. So the idea here is that virtual reality will get round all those problems with space, expense, and scaling, basically. So read all about it, as they say. this is virtualityreporter.com. That's 3 words, virtual reality reporter, but they're all squashed together as one.com. And again, the direct link is on my Twitter feed. Right. Okay. I'm just scrolling down here again. Did we cover this? This is voicesofvr.com yet again. I think this is one I missed when I was trying to do them all at once. This is a sneak peek of S by SW online program with their curator. Obviously, I've put up a couple of other posts on this earlier on, but this is oh yeah, $3.99 entry price. It's a bit steep if you're only interested in immersive programming. But yeah. Let me see. Yeah. Actually, I've just got the post here. If you go there on the web, there will undoubtedly be a button for playing the interview. So that's voicesofvr.com, voicesofvr.com. And yeah, I guess that makes the 4th, or is it 5th this week? Okay, coming up to date here. This is as opposed to the peak week at the beginning of the week. We end up at the end of the week, just before this show, really, with the week in XR. And this is Charlie Fink's piece, Is This VR's Moment? And this is his weekly column, really, at Forbes. So it's FORBEES. So FORBES.com. And he said, I like where it started. This is one of those moments when you realise everything's about to change. Gosh golly. How deep, how lasting those society changes will be is impossible to prognosticate in the first weeks of. Oh God, this is another one I don't. This is another one I don't want to read out. Thank you. Anyway, it's another roundup thing, but obviously, having come out yesterday, it's a bit more up to date. Missing this week was a Weekend XR. There's a video on YouTube that shares the name, and we covered. I only had 3 at the beginning of the program to cover, so either I missed it or it didn't happen this week. Anyway, this you'll find at Forbes.com, so FORBES.com. And moving on, I do have 3 last posts. These last 3 actually were posted on the Metaworld News feed at Twitter, so twitter.com/Metaworld News. Area 47 here is a YouTube video. And it's posted by, I love this woman's work, whether she's in Second Life or anywhere else, really. Isabel Cheren, ISABELLE space CHEREN. And basically, she's looking. She's normally just talking away, and she's fun to listen to wherever she is. But this is at Area 57 here in Sansar. So there we are, Isabel Cheren, Area 57, and well, I'll just play a bit of it. You can get a feeling for what she's like just from listening to her voice. So.
I'm gonna shh.
Sorry, I wasn't at the beginning.
Hey guys, Liz here, aka Isabel Cheren. Today I am to you from Sansar at a place called Villa Alta Area 47. It is one of a few destination spots that the gentleman Alfie owns, and he happens to be the real-life owner of the Villa Alto brand in reality. He has a number of worlds to visit, so I'm just visiting this one, and he actually has virtual stores as well. Well, a store in Sansar. So I thought I'd bring you here and show you around today. I'm not going to twiddle a lot and talk. You don't really rambling. So I'm just going to show you around and so you can get a feel of it. This place is pretty cool. I really like it. And it has such an atmosphere, and I love all the animated, commas here. This is so cool. I started talking to someone and realised they weren't real.
I know that.
It's brilliant. Anyhow, without further ado, I'm going to shh.
Okay, that's all you're getting from me. There's another 5 minutes. It's about 6 minutes, and after that, it's just sort of short form showing you the venue, basically. And this has happened to me in Sansar too. She just made a comment about she started talking to somebody and then suddenly realized they weren't real. There are a lot of what they call NPCs used in Sansar here, and it's you really can't easily tell them apart from real people in their avatars. OpenSim. It can be a bit like that as well because you have NPCs in OpenSim. And if you, there's usually a giveaway in the name tags in OpenSim, but no such luck in Samsara. You can quite easily think you bumped into somebody and they want a conversation with you, and they don't exist. But yeah, that's the fun, half the fun affair, isn't it? Okay, so that's YouTube.com, and the account you want is Isabel Sharan. Moving on here to something called Hypergrid Business. That's still going.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this is relevant actually to the hypergrid. Podex, who are the second largest OpenSIM payments provider, has had a fire at its data center and the services have been temporarily down. But they stress no user money is being lost. The Podex system is based on OVH servers based in Strasbourg, Germany, that is. And the fire destroys some of their data center. The CEO said, "We don't know if our data was destroyed as no data has been published so far. However, users' currency is absolutely safe," he said. "Nobody can lose money because Podex does not keep any money of the users," he said. And where again, apparently the data center where this all happened is scheduled to be up and running again tomorrow, Monday. And if that's all okay, Podex will just work like before. If Podex's own server was destroyed in the fire as well, and they don't be clear on that, then there is also a recovery plan. They simply set up the Podex system from backups on another server, but that might take a little bit longer. So for the moment, payment system is down. Check tomorrow for this if it's of important to you. And OpenSIM users cannot use their Podex currency, but yeah, their ATMs in World and stuff are not working either, of course. But that's part and parcel of the same thing. Okay. Okay, some comments from Terry Ford at DigiWorlds there about if users have Podex money, they can continue to use it and everything is normal. But cash outs are a different story. We don't cash out, so users will need to go to Podex and wait Podex to be online for that. So, not great news. If you OpenSIM, of course, is it's absolutely massive complex of worlds all connected by the hypergrid. Well, a lot of them connected by the hypergrid. But OpenSIM is very much known as a kind of free-for-all kind of place. There are grids, or the main grids on OpenSIM, that have been opened up for big where residents still have some kind of currency, and some use this Podex currency. But OpenSIM also includes, hundreds, maybe even thousands of worlds that don't use any kind of currency at all. They give stuff away, or maybe you can't buy or copy anything. There's different rules applying. But it's not OpenSIM itself is not in any way commercial. There are a few commercial grids as part of it, but and some of them are big, but on the actual number of grids on OpenSIM would largely be unaffected by sort of a delay in their virtual currency, which is what it sounds like to be. Okay, I've got the final link here, and I'm not even sure what it is until I click on it. Oh, guess what? There is another engine job.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, it is the final link of the program, and it needed an engine to get it going. Yes, indeed. VRROM.BUZZ. And DJ Sneak, Matthias Tansman, and others joined the Lost Horizon in VR, which again is right here at the virtuality venue Lost Horizon, and it's right here in Sansar. Let me see. DJ Sneak opens the event, first of the spring season. Right, March 13th was yesterday, of course, but it's the opening of the season, so it's important. Anyway, 4 hour set that travels from Chicago house music, virtual actually virtual after party vibes on Moon Harbour Recordings boss, and Moon Harbour we've advertised for coming soon anyway, bringing that venue here. Those with VR headsets can get the full party experience on Sansar, but you can also get involved via your PC, mobile, or browser. And until March the 13th, you can grab, well, until yesterday, you could get a 6 show season pass for $10. By now, that introduction price has probably gone up. But we're 1 day into it, so I don't know. Maybe they'll keep it at $10. It's most events here on Sansar do cost money, but very few of them are what you might call super expensive. Their model is to compete with, I suppose, the price you might pay for a gig rather than a festival in the real world. Right, so yep. You can find this post at vrrroom.buzz, room.buzz, of course. And actually, you can go to the Lost Horizon website too. I might as well give you that while we're at it. This is losthorizonlive.com. 3 words, losthorizonlive.com. And this is their site. And it looks like it's still a $10 season ticket, although presumably you've got 1 day less of it, if you see what I mean. So yeah, that's their whole agenda and everything there. And okay. Some of them are interesting, like this Martina Brothers. Yeah, that's that's next Saturday, 20th of March. You need the season ticket to come to Sansar, but you can sign up for a link to get the stream for free. So if you can't afford your season pass or whatever, then you can sign up to get the stream for free. Presumably there'll be a sort of entrance fee on the website for the stream. You'll have to be registered, but I don't know. And oh yeah, good. This is a nice little video, but it's actually about all their events in December, so I'm not going to play that. It's sort of looking back, give you a good idea though of the the quality of the venues here and what they're doing. I will show you a bit. Oops. Just like the real world, you do have to be a fan of the music. I think, unless you're quite happy to have your ears blasted out just for the sake of talking with people. Anyway, so that's it. That's it, James. We have covered everything. Everything is now done and covered. So time for any comments you may have.
Just one comment. Well, 2 comments. The first one, a quick one. Anyone who says become master of the metaverse doesn't understand the concept of the metaverse.
But no, you've got to remember the metaverse needs a god emperor.
Yeah. But then, no, the real thing I wanted to comment on is the Gather product that was featured, and I find it very interesting because I have been an attendee and a presenter at conferences, and one thing that I do find really is missing from the conference experience is just the simple aspect of moving from room to room. And selecting, I'd like to go to this, and the current way of doing conferences with video, Zoom or whatever the tool is, just is not very satisfying. And the ability to walk into a room, with the spatial audio and turn on the video and see what they're talking about, and then saying, this session isn't for me, and then walk out and go to another one. That's one of the things I like about a conference experience. So I see some promise in that platform. I'm very curious to follow it.
Okay, There's a program. I know. Oddly enough, I just tried to install it on the Mac a couple of days ago, and then it needed my login.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I've forgotten this because it's been around for years. But it's called Sakoko.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with that
I'm
one?
not. I'm not.
A few years ago, back when we were, these things were much rarer. Sakoko was kind of a conference, it was a site where they had different events and things. And literally all it is a floor plan with
Mm-hmm.
different rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And you move the icon for yourself from one room to another. And once you were in a room, sometimes a room would have uh, a video you could click on, and it would open up like a YouTube, like a video, you
Okay.
know.
Yep.
But the actual world was all just a floor plan. Like somebody does a CAD mock-up
Mm-hmm.
for their office or their auditorium, and that's all it was. Now I can't remember. I probably didn't notice at the time whether it had any kind of spatial audio. It has a speech layer. In other words, you could attend this thing and not really do much at all, or you could trigger something to look at, but I think you could go into a room for a conversation. And it was simplicity itself. And in fact, that's one of the reasons I tried to reload it the other day because I thought, well, I've got a couple of rooms, one in high fidelity audio thing, and a couple of other places, and they're easy to load into the web. So Coco, from my recollection, does actually require the app. It's a bit like TeamSpeak, it resides in your tray.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very lightweight kind of thing. More of a sort of visual IMing sort of system, really. But I mean, once you've got the visual components, you can expand it to any kind of event, really. Um, it is. It's fast and easy. We had a clip earlier where I realised the clip was in Vibella, which is another big conferencing thing of the year in lockdown. And again, I don't like Vibella very much, but I understand why it's so popular because it's simplicity itself. You still got different places, you still teleport from one to another, and you walk, but you can also walk to them. Everything's clearly signposted and you can talk to people but there's no real uphill learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
It just speaks for itself. When you get in the shore, you've got to learn to walk, but that's about, and you've got to know how to press your mouse on something to teleport to the room you want. But beyond that, it couldn't be simpler. But that's the beauty of it. Maybe it is simple. I mean, it's too simple to be visually captivating, I think, and the avatars are not the greatest either.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very, but I would just click on a room where there was an event. It would teleport me into that event, or I could walk there too if I followed the signs. And then I would take a seat, and then there'd be an avatar or avatars on stage talking, and sometimes with little presentations and things. But it just didn't need any work. Um, so I obviously know all the metaphors at play there, but I mean, I actually believe that if I didn't know a Second Life or Sansa or any of these more exotic worlds, I would be able to, I would just have been able to go there and think, oh yeah, this makes sense, um, and if it's quick work-based sort of things, home working even, or um, stuff like that, it really does make sense. And I'm intrigued by the take up with this clubhouse thing. Even when my invite does come through, if it comes through, I could probably ring somebody and get them to send me an invite, because I know enough people on it. But I've realised it only works on my phone. And I don't actually want a conferencing facility on my phone. It's like it would be like being on a Zoom call with audio only, on a phone, and I don't know, unless you're looking at the screen at the same time, how do you control things like interruptions and what have you? So I haven't been able to use it because I haven't got an account yet. I haven't Nobody sent me an invite. But until it's more like Signal or Telegram, where there's a desktop client I can use too, I'm not really very interested because if I go into Signal or Telegram, or indeed Discord, Slack. I can launch, audio only meetings with multiple people, and then I can walk away. I can just hear all the talk going on, and I can talk to them from, be part of the conversation at the other end of the room without even having to hold the phone. Um, so, Clubhouse seems to be a bit restricted in that sense, but it is sort of in vogue. And I think it's one of these. I don't know where it will really last. Apparently, Twitter are coming out at the beginning of April with their own clubhouse that doesn't need an invite other than a Twitter account. So go figure. I'll be able to use that one. But the question is, do we really want all that stuff? And I appreciate that that solution is probably a good for tackling Zoom fatigue, as they call it. But, as a rule, it's like meetings we've had, James, with, our conference organizers and things like that. We'll all be on Discord or Skype, maybe in World 2. But the conversation goes on. You don't necessarily have headphones on or a mic. You just listen to people talking, and then you talk when you want. And it's just very natural. It's like you're in a room, and then there's a whole load of other people in other rooms, but the voices are all mixed. And so long as people are polite and not rude and butting in all the while, those kind of meetings tend to work very well. And you don't necessarily have to sit at a desk or sit in front of a TV, or you can walk around, or you can be doing something else because it's just kind of audio. And sometimes simple is best. There are reasons, plenty of reasons for wanting to be in a Sansa or a Second Life or an Open Sim, but they're enhanced reasons, that go beyond the idea of just chatting to people, be it friends, business colleagues, or whatever. So, yeah, got a rabbit hole here today, haven't we?
Yep, a short one,
Yeah,
a brief one.
a shortish one, yeah.
Hmm.
It's funny, we're at an hour and 3/4, but I bet you I've used up 15 minutes in the final rabbit. I can't even see here. Yeah. Oh no. We're on late, weren't we? Oh, we're down to nearly 90 minutes today.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't
We
think.
are doing good. We're
Yeah,
doing good. And
hour and
here
a.
I was thinking I'd gone to overkill,
Right,
despite the
right.
fact that, of course, I'm coming on an hour earlier this week over in the UK, of course, because for the next 3 weeks we're only 7 apart. But yeah, we did well. We did well. We'll have it under 90 minutes because I'm now going to say the obligatory Taraz. It's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye. Oh, I moved the wrong camera. And it's goodbye from him. uh,
It's goodbye. It's goodbye from all the cameras too.
and all the cameras, right?
Okay, it's goodbye from the two of us because whether it's AR, whether it's VR, whether it's MR, whether it's XR, whether it's RR, I don't know because
We
we are.
are.
We are the Metaworld News, and we will return same time, same place next week. Meanwhile, have a good week. Keep safe. Stay at home if you can, and don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. Use the excuse to chill out a bit. Yeah. And we will see you. And on. Well, in a week. Bye for now.